Hello everyone. Today's topic is European Union relations with India and China in the post-COVID world order. First, let's talk about commonality between European Union and India. Both European Union and India aim to enhance strategic autonomy and their global standing. Diversifying strategic value chains is also a common interest as it is the urgent need to address climate change. The European Union and India can support each other in these endeavors. On purely economic terms, the European Union is India's first trading partner and the biggest foreign investor, with 22% of total FDI flows. Enhanced business cooperation can help both European Union and India diversify their strategic value chains and reduce economic dependency, notably on China. India could succeed in attracting European Union investment that might be moving out of China, but for that, it must address the mutual trust deficit. Facilitating people's mobility and connectivity is a good way to improve mutual understanding and create opportunities for innovation and growth. Now, talks on free trade agreements. The European Union and India must tackle the elephant in the room, the stagnating FTA negotiations, so as to have additional potential gains from enhanced coordination on the provision of global public goods, such as environmental standards. In geopolitical terms, India finds itself facing increasingly restive, powerful rivals. The Indo Pacific region is the focus of attention. So, India should capitalize on its geopolitical leverage there. Stronger cooperation with like minded democratic powers can support this effort, especially towards assertive competitors like China. Even India's strongest bilateral relations with individual European Union member states do not come close to the potential of dealing effectively with the European Union as a whole. New Delhi must learn how to maximize benefit from this strategic partnership. Now, talking about the ruptures caused by COVID 19, then the ruptures caused by COVID 19 has been the occasion for European Union to prove its worth. The measures at supranational level show a strong willingness to buttress the fundamental pillars on which EU is built. The next generation EU proposal submitted by the European Commission has surprised many by its bold approach. This is indeed a game changer, notably not only in its financial implications as it allows the EU to take on debt, but because it shows that the ties that bind the EU extend well beyond treaties and individual members' self-interest. But the value of EU reaches far beyond its economic clout. The European Union champions the rules based international order, which is being increasingly challenged by the proliferation of exceptionalism. The European Union and India must join forces to promote sustainable reforms of multilateral institutions, with the WTO first in line. Hence, a strong partnership would help both European Union and India become a global decision makers. Now, talking about European Union relations with China, then they too both have issues of commonality. Europe championed China's race for WTO membership and China supported the European project. China is also critical for European prosperity. Between 1995 and 2000, Germany, Europe's economic powerhouse, enhanced its industrial value by 37%, the largest chunk of which came from supply chains in China. Now, talking about the relations in the aftermath of the pandemic between European Union and China, COVID-19 pandemic has strained European Union and China's relations. China's early handling of COVID-19 has received worldwide criticism, including from European countries that have had to bear the brunt of the pandemic. The pandemic has also triggered calls for diversifying European businesses away from the over-reliance on any single market. Despite the strains, there have been efforts made to sustain the relation. The European Union's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy has reiterated China's status as a key global player and expressed the European Union's intention to engage with China to achieve objectives based on mutual interest and values. There also have been statements issued by European leaders that they will not choose sides between US and China, and this seems to indicate that EU will not follow the US in decoupling or join an against China campaign. EU Chamber of Commerce in China, which recently released its Business Confidence Survey 2020, notes that European companies still regard China as the biggest potential market. European companies hope that China's administration will use this pandemic to make fundamental reforms in the economy, opening up further economic opportunities. Though these developments seem to indicate that there is unlikely to be any change in the Europe-China relations after the pandemic, it is argued that such a presumption requires closer examination. Now, what are the political and security dimensions involved in this? In March 2019, the European Union Commission published a strategic outlook describing China as simultaneously a cooperative partner, an economic competitor, and a systemic rival, promoting alternative models of governance. Political and security dimensions also have taken precedence over economic dimension that had been the primary determinant of China EU ties for nearly 2 decades. The balance of challenges and opportunities presented by China seems to be shifting as China's economic power and political influence has grown with unprecedented scale and speed in ways that threaten European and global security. China has made efforts to cultivate separate European sub-constituencies like the 16 plus 1 format with the Central and Eastern European states, and has made much efforts to cultivate relations with the Nordic and Southern European nations separate from the EU platform. The People's Liberation Army Navy has conducted joint exercises with Russia in the Baltic Sea in 2017 as well. China has been blamed for carrying out its operations in European countries, and China has made targeted acquisition of key high-tech companies such as KUKA in Germany or key ports like Piraeus in Greece. China's aggressive actions in the South China Sea on the line of actual control with India and in Hong Kong, among others, have also gained European eyeballs, even though China remains critical to European economic health. The strategic outlook document of EU recommended that EU could shift towards a more realistic, assertive and multifaceted approach to China. China also views the EU as increasingly antagonistic to Chinese views. Now, what is European Union's dilemma? Europe's relation with China are simultaneously one of the most strategically important and one of the most challenging that Europe has to deal with. Europe will have to balance economic codependency and co-prosperity with China's strategic global intentions and efforts to seek military supremacy and its bearing on European security. Though China is critical to European economic health, the evolving political and security dimensions seem set to alter the existing relations. Now, talking about the India-EU relation in this context, this current circumstances provide an opportune time for India-EU relation. The opportunity for India and EU to build a powerful partnership is both economic and strategic, is there for taking in post-COVID-19 strategic scenario. Political conditions are favorable, especially after the withdrawal of UK from EU. Europeans recognize India's role in helping provide peace and prosperity in Indo-Pacific, and they see great potential in working together on technologies of future. The deteriorating relationship between China and US is causing many new investors to look for alternative investment spaces. Now, talking about the challenges involved in this, India is not only the economic alternative for Europe in the aftermath of COVID-19, there are countries competing to attract foreign investment. The broad-based trade and investment agreement between India and EU is still under negotiation. Now, what could be the way forward? India and EU can consider a new investment agreement to promote and facilitate investment in India. India should be ready to join high technology collaboration with Western countries, including 5G and artificial intelligence. And the negotiations of the broad-based trade and investment agreement will need an accommodative stand for both sides. With this, I end my today's video. Thank you and take care.